The Dinka live deep in southern Sudan, a tribal territory isolated from the outside world after decades of civil war. Their remote landscape protects an ancient way of life. As we enter the world of a cattle camp, we find a young man who professes love to the beautiful woman he wants to marry. But a Dinka wife is expensive. Her bride price is paid in cows. While the marriage negotiations take place, the community is heading straight for a conflict zone and the grazing land of a rival tribe. In this film, we follow a man in love, the woman he wants to marry, and a clan on the move into enemy territory. Sudan is the largest country in Africa. To the south lies the Sud, one of the planet's most extensive swamplands. The Dinka live throughout these floodplains. Plagued by decades of civil war and tribal conflict, the day-to-day concerns of the tribe remains the same: their cattle. Our story follows a Dinka clan as they move from one cattle camp to the next. They're called the Payok, one of hundreds of clans who form the 4 million strong Dinka ethnic group, the largest in southern Sudan. The Dinka refer to themselves as the Jiang. One of the Payok herdsmen is Mayen. He's 20 years old, and like many of the other young men, he watches over both his own cattle and his family's. Over these next few days, Mayen's life will change dramatically. He wants to marry. To do so, he must gain the support of his clan and risk losing all his wealth.
Agal runtuang norun ke diak ketuat kayen ran ci jam ka yen nya ku jamanya chani nya ci kan yo ka tuang ci jam da jatok ka jarot ku la tong manya kan je jam dia la to ka manya ka jabe ban joku.
Mayen has not told the rest of the clan of his decision. A marriage proposal will uproot many aspects of daily camp life. Today, the Payok are herding their 7,000 cattle towards the river, where they'll set up a new cattle camp. The river defines a territorial boundary. On the far side lies grazing land traditionally occupied by a rival Dinka group. The Payok have been forbidden by local government authorities to use this land, since it could lead to inter-group fighting. Still, the clan thinks better grasslands lie on the prohibited side of the river. As the Payok cross, they risk aggravating the local government representatives. But despite the threat of raids and conflict, their cattle come first. conflict today involves modern firearms, now widespread in southern Sudan after years of civil war. A tribe without arms is defenseless against aggressive neighbors. This stretch of the river lies outside a permanent village, and a ferryman overseeing the village crossing is alarmed when the Payok vie for the use of his canoe. As the Payok herd their cattle into rival territory, trouble soon catches up with them. Local villagers detain Mayen. Because he's the one who's been caught, he now has to answer for the rest of the clan. The villagers are respected elders within the local Dinka government, and this is not the first time the clan have ignored instructions. The village elders issue an ultimatum. If Mayen can persuade the rest of the clan to recross the river, then the matter will be resolved. If not, they'll call in the army. Mayen leaves the village to catch up with his clansmen. The 20-year-old herdsman must persuade the Payok to return to this side of the river. As yet, they're unaware of his plans to marry here. In southern Sudan today, clashes over grazing territory are common. Tribal infighting has caused widespread displacements, and grazing land is in constant dispute. But sometimes, it's not war that brings change, but peace. Even in the remotest cattle camps, the modern world unexpectedly appears. Since Sudan's reunification in 2005, international aid agencies and traders have escalated modern development. The world of the Dinka cattle camp is rapidly changing. Modern clothes brought from the cities are increasingly common. Scarification is another aspect of Dinka culture rapidly disappearing. Individual clans have their own forehead markings. These scars are made during childhood, during ceremonies which traditionally mark one of the most important rites of passage in a person's life. But scarification isn't solely about cultural identity. Patterns cut on their torsos and behind their eyes are time-honoured healing remedies. Nowadays, town-dwelling authorities discourage scarification. Six months earlier, southern Sudan was still in the height of the dry season. The the rains had not yet come. The floodplains of the Blue Nile were parched and dry, and tormented by drought and dust storms. For Dinka herdsmen, the seasonal cycle from the dry season to the wet season has always been a familiar one. For centuries, their cattle herds have plied the banks of the River Nile, relying on its precious water and pastures. By June, the rains have already transformed the floodplains into rich grasslands. It's now critical that the communities living in the cattle camps locate fresh grazing to replenish their herds. One of the clans on the move is the Payok. Mayen is at the front of the herd. He's persuaded his clan to return across the river, and they're heading for an empty cattle camp downstream. Dinka communities are constantly rotating their herds between cattle camps. This campground is called Manyung Adit, named after the colour of bulls. Although it hasn't been occupied for many months, this site has been used for untold generations. For Mayen, this site is more than a place to rest. He hopes it will be his wedding ground. The woman Mayen loves is a doll. Adol is 17 years old and a highly eligible bride. She comes from a good family, is a hard worker, and she's tall and beautiful. At present, daughters and dowries are just a dream for Mayen. If the young herdsman wants to marry the desirable Adol, he'll have to raise her bride price. Beginning a marriage process will transform events in the cattle camp. Adol's parents live 10 miles from the cattle camp. Their village is a typical one. A small clay hut surrounded by agricultural gardens where they grow maize and sorghum. The Dinka divide their time between living in permanent dwellings, such as this one, and the nomadic community of the cattle camps. Lifestyles are divided by clear gender boundaries. Decision-making and cattle ownership are the preserve of men. Bringing up the children and managing the household, that of women. Men and women have different perspectives on their separate roles.
Iya kalau diar kui tada lo diar kin beg lo karo ba man mo jang.
Yo ko isa de chan o war yo je chan mo ela nyu kunya na le be mai ben ku dom. Ko ta de chok jai ba den wa che tat.
Ba gala diar ba wo dia je kana ror ben tu bi jalo yo ngal.
Ka chok tar kan kana gur ba gala la bari. Ka chok tar kan.
En kera la krele ya kala halu ba
Kujek la mu je tang ngatur te ko.
kolle muita nan krele ba ka ke kalo nan krele ba ka ke kalo ko diaro ada ba ko tendi te da ya ko lo ya kene bela kwana rar yan ka daga.
Today, a doll has gone to visit her family in her home village. She faces leaving behind the excitement of the cattle camp if she becomes Mayen's new wife.
Kupun kai ben da lan to kan away den ga ka kunyu abi bedu betam ku yi ka tim ka ku ben rapid kira briye ben ga tem ku ya ka jong ku ben ka da rot ari len ba ari le no ru na pot len pe ka jin ko ta pe ko ba ka ta pe ba ja la nyi nyo ne ti tin ku je nyi rable ari le
If Mayen marries their daughter, both the doll's mother and stepmother stand to increase their wealth. The actual bride price will not be settled until the final day of marriage negotiations. It's likely to be well over 100 cows, which means that if Mayen wants to marry a doll, he'll have to give up all his cattle and acquire more from his friends and relatives.
Ngai chi ja lewo ka ha so ko ku da ya bu le lan kwa chi dwal a chi dwal do le kin bu ko le wa ja ben ba ra le
Mayen has made his decision. He takes a friend to Adol's village to initiate the marriage process. A Dinka marriage proposal is not a single event, but a series of bride price negotiations.
Yang luôn work chung everything. Thì biết rằng mấy anh đi rồi, chẳng bị coi cái bình yang pin, ý chừng kia rồi, thì bị là nhót toàn đến chừng pan mòn yang cái lô cái đi, chẳng nên cái bị cái, ô, gái chụp bên con đi na can.
Adol's father is not present at the meeting. This stage of the marriage process requires the consultation of the bride's uncles and older male relatives. Mayen's character has been closely observed during his 2-year courtship of Adol. Their support is critical to his success.
Ina kan gana yen mayan era na biat a jingde ne man mo le de man era na biat kana yega kana nyare aba yang mayan ne den kana nyare a jingge man ka yen yu ba yega
Cái chú ngon, cái chơi tiếng luôn. Cái đó cái dương mal bạc quẹt. Cái lôi lôi cả gam. Cái yên thì cái gam.
It's good news. These family members approve. In 2 days, the tribe will hold a final meeting in which Mayen's marriage proposal will be accepted or rejected. Later that day, the young men decide to hold a wrestling contest. The Dinka hold wrestling contests whenever the clan agrees it's an appropriate time, usually when there's an ample amount of nourishing food to give the wrestlers strength. Today, Mayen's friends have organised the event. They believe it will help excite interest in his marriage plans. Mayen takes centre stage. He acts as the umpire between two competing teams. The wrestling match and the news about the marriage have left the Payok in a light-hearted mood. Nevertheless, if Mayen wishes to gain Adol's hand, he must have the support of his friends and relatives. It's a risky business, exchanging cows for brides. And in the cattle camp, anything could happen. After yesterday's marriage announcement, a normal routine returns to the cattle camp. Cows are at the centre of daily life. Every morning, the Dinka use their hands to gather the night's cow dung. The dung attracts worms and insects, so it's placed aside in mounds. In the dry season, the dung is baked in the sun and added to their fires. But at this time of year, it never dries out. The children also help collect the cow's milk. Sometimes, if the cow refuses, they'll stimulate its sexual organs. This unique technique encourages the cow to lactate, its natural response to a calf attempting to suckle. It's usually left to the young boys to carry out the task. Another Dinka custom is showering under urinating cows. The urine turns their hair orange, a decorative colour people of all ages greatly admire. Decoration isn't limited to men and women, but encompasses their cattle. The Dinka alter the shape of their cattle's horns by regularly shaving them. Once this bull's horns are treated, they will eventually grow backwards, a pattern greatly admired. Dinka men are inextricably linked to their herd. They accumulate cattle when relatives marry, receiving a share of the dowry, but lose cattle when acquiring wives of their own. In their eyes, cattle are everything, from food to wealth and social status.
Kwa bi ngar ka e chamban ni ke champanda ka bi nong tok ke ga man tok tan ke a ko mu banki ai ban pen ka e wat kita banki to ni kita guru ma chan ba chwa ga liu a to ga yen guru bi chok tem ro le to jebe ene ken ting kit ya guru gu ti pande na ye dol go an ting dun war cha ga guru mu chen guru ga ro won
ayo guru dol go ora no ara ba chi kan dol go ki chi ka ayo ko dol go wede ten won ku cha ja ta ti ba tan ba ja lo yen nyan nga ga ni nyan nga ba yu ye ting de ho cha ga ba ja ta ke ko nga khmit tu nga wel bi ni nyan be ni brio cha na cha lo ba ta ni am.
Dinka men go to great lengths to tend and protect their herds. Cattle raiding and theft is widespread, exacerbated by years of civil war. No herdsman today would protect his cattle without modern arms. Back at the cattle camp, members of the tribe are constructing family shelters. Mayen is working on his with his friends. The Dinka sometimes use palm trees to construct their huts. When they run out of leaves, they simply head for the nearest forest to collect more. Mayen uses his time away from camp to hear what the rest of the young men are saying about his marriage plans. He discovers that another man is interested in Adol and is considering making a marriage bid of his own. A competitor is not good news, especially if he's rich. Now, more than ever, Mayen must rally his friends' support, ensuring they contribute some of their own cows to Adol's dowry. To learn which of his friends are willing to help out, a special meeting is planned for tomorrow. This meeting will allow his clansmen to pledge cows on his behalf. While Mayen constructs his hut, Adol goes with her friends to pound maize. Maize and sorghum are two agricultural foods clansmen bring to the cattle camps from their home villages, or barter for milk with nearby settlements. Trips like these are among the few times the girls have time alone, and for Adol, it provides an opportunity to gossip with her friends. Now that the marriage procedures have begun, Adol must be careful not to talk openly about her feelings for Mayen. If Mayen suddenly pulls out of the marriage, others will suspect he's found a good reason to change his mind. It's in a bride's interests to keep quiet about love and ignore any rumours that might jeopardise the outcome of her marriage.
No mo chamiar kan mo den chana min bayan cha golel
chelan na ya ko yan ki jin ne ya do lelan ta ba ya chelan ko yan ma yan na da che cha te ne le bora ya na da en ya re nywa ta na lio pandan mo ja ha bơ kai ka ba
Later that afternoon, Mayen journeys once more to Adol's village, this time to meet her mother and female relatives. Without the support of the female relatives, continuing the marriage process would be futile. In Dinka tradition, it's customary for suitors to provide food as well as cows for the bride's family. But they must also win the female relatives' approval. Adol's mother faces an important decision: to support Mayen's marriage bid or to wait for a wealthier suitor. Back at the cattle camp, the unmarried women perform traditional songs and dances. It's during these colourful dances that adolescent girls attract future husbands. Often the words of the songs are particular to the clan groups and known only within the tribe. While the unmarried girls dance, Adol keeps a low profile now that she's engaged. Her father arrives from his village. He's come for the marriage negotiations and is interested in Mayen's cattle. If all goes to plan, Mayen's herd will be given to his own family. As the unmarried girls dance, Adol faces another day of uncertainty over whether Mayen will be chosen as her husband. Dinka women rarely choose their husbands, though couples in love occasionally elope if they wish to stay together. Marriage arrangements are vital to the whole family, for daughters are the principal means of acquiring wealth. Beautiful daughters bring rich husbands. In fact, Adol's relatives are unsure of how many cattle Mayen really owns. It's common for Dinka men to disguise their wealth by hiding their cows in faraway camps. The onset of the rainy season transformed southern Sudan, leading rival clans to vie for the lush grasslands that emerge. For the Payok, the question of where to graze their herds is causing a dilemma. Some of the clan want to decamp and recross the river into disputed territory, but the tribe has already been forbidden to do so. Complicating matters further, Mayan and his friends wish to remain at the current location until his marriage is settled. Mayan and his friends call a pledge meeting to see which clansmen support the marriage proposal and which are against it. Without their support, Mayan's wedding bid may fail. During official meetings, the Dinka appoint a spokesman to speak on behalf of every participant. The spokesman's role is to repeat everyone's comments, ensuring that each voice is clearly heard.
Akalan kipunye. Nan kijai. Galan.
The pledge meeting leaves many questions unresolved. Though Mayan's friends support his ambitions for a doll, others in the clan are more worried about their own cattle herds. Fresh grazing opportunities lie just on the other side of the river. It hardly looks good for a young herdsman to be abandoned by the rest of his clan, and the fact is not lost on Adol's relatives. Later that morning, Mayan is dealt an unexpected blow. While he's out looking for a stray cow, members of the cattle camp leave to cross the river. The lure of rich pastures is, for some members of the clan, greater than the danger of cattle raids or the attraction of staying for Mayan's marriage negotiations. When Mayan returns to the cattle camp, he's shocked by a few of his clansmen's decision to leave. He fears the others will follow. As her marriage plans unravel, Adol watches on anxiously. A collapsed marriage bid would ruin her relatives' dreams of acquiring more cattle and their immediate desire of finding a suitable husband for her. Arguments ring through the settlement. Mayan's last hope is for his supporters to persuade the rest of the clan to remain at the camp one more day. It would give him a final chance to complete his marriage negotiations. By evening, the majority of the Payok decide to stay for Mayan's marriage. The promise of meat has, for the moment, satisfied the tribe. Dinka rarely kill their cattle for food. One of the exceptions is marriages. The sudden change of events has created another advantage for Mayen. The competitor for Adol's hand has not appeared, believing the clan to be on the move. The path ahead is clear for Mayen. His biggest challenge now is her steep bride price. As is customary, Adol's relatives will demand far more cows than Mayen's family are able to offer. And inevitably, arguments will break out during tomorrow's big negotiations. As night falls, the men closely watch over their cattle, protecting them from both wild animals and cattle raids by other tribes. The cows are tethered to their personal places beside the fires, with the herdsman's favourites in the warmest position. The next day begins with the final marriage negotiations. Marriage arrangements affect the entire clan, so high-ranking elders from the village arrive at the camp to oversee the process. Those who work for the local government wear modern clothes. The outcome of this meeting will decide both Mayen and Adol's fate. An umpire announces and clarifies the offers made to the bride's family. Adol's father sits on one side, surrounded by his relatives, those of Mayen on the other. Women are banned from entering the negotiations. However, Adol's female relatives have a stake in the outcome and will be disappointed if her father accepts an insignificant number of cows. So far, Mayen has only raised 120 cattle, and the bride's relatives now want 200. The negotiations continue. Marriage negotiations often have an element of theatre. When the situation becomes strained, Dinka sometimes joke to ease the tension. But for Mayen, the outcome of the meeting is no laughing matter. The cows are now being counted. Each cow is represented by a small stick, and there are still only 120 of them. Mayen was expecting more contributions from his friends.
Ana ni chitiek lo ya ngot ko ni ba ko amen ko wena ngot ke ba ko ke a chi jabi jai.
Adol's relatives leave the marriage negotiations to discuss the final offer. Mayen's future hangs in the balance. He's only mustered 120 cattle, less than the bride price they demand. However, Adol's relatives like his character and believe he'll make a good husband, offering up his entire 70-strong herd for their Adol. Adol's relatives accept Mayen's offer. Together, they decide that he'll make a suitable husband.
Ai chưa còn cái phải ấy của cha ra nhà nhớ qua ai chưa rồi nhà ấy là hun ấy là mình nhà bây giờ cái mình mình mày chán mày nhà thì này giờ mày
Pidia jad ko mari tege chanu men tenge ci japiat wena ni ci po jamiet ku ci be donka yik ban te mu e ci jaliw ne ki jato kamen janien tege ya ni a ci nin jojore da ci jot a ci na ni tiar ngwan.
Now that the long day of marriage negotiations is over, the cattle camp prepares for feasting and celebration. As the ceremonial dances take place, somewhere on the other side of the river, the rest of the clan waits. When the night is over, the clan will join them, leaving behind Adol and Mayen. With no more cattle, the married couple have no other choice than to return home to Mayen's village. There, they'll grow crops instead.
Đời là xin cái ai giờ rồi anh nhìn luôn dương là đời quay giam anh liệu quay nhai giam mà vâng cũng đã giật mà anh không nhìn mà do là nó làm ngon kìa ấy ở đó là rong cha nên cái tiệt thì anh biết là nhiều cái cả thế vua cả là làm vắng cái lần à anh qua đời là bà làm đặc anh chứ là tôi gọi là bà làm đặc kiểu về cái này anh nhìn nó phải chơi lần đi rồi thôi. Ê giao yêu ra đi đây chơi yêu chị như gì của không là không mình đi không có loại ra một gì chi lời.
3 days ago, the Payok clan arrived at a cattle camp called Manyung Adit. It's been the scene of not just a marriage drama, but an episode in a wider story of grazing rights and the seasonal movement of cattle. In Dinka cattle camps, life is, as ever, unpredictable. Young men and cattle endlessly on the move, as with husbands and wives. The future of the Dinka culture is unpredictable too, as conflict, war, and modernization present new challenges to an ancient culture.